combined graduate level exam and also CLAT exam. So please do visit the AKS IAS Academy for various coaching. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Thumala, and my credentials are: I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session will help you to crack prelims and mains examinations, because I would be focusing on the or emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, which will be very useful for you for the prelims as well as mains examinations. So my emphasis would be on the keywords and the key phrases from the newspaper, which these keywords and the key phrases you will get into the mode, or I will make you practice how you will need to identify the factual, analytical and conceptual questions which will be useful for the preliminary examination point of view. So definitely the emphasis on the keywords and the key phrases will be helpful for you in regards to the prelims point of view, and by imbibing the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing is the key for you to score higher marks in the mains examination, because when you imbibe the keywords and the key phrases, you will certainly get into the mode that is your answers would be precise and concise, and once your answers are precise and concise, no doubt you would be scoring higher marks in the mains examination. So it is very important that you need to get into the mode of identifying the keywords and the key phrases in the newspaper and also in the various other subjects, so that you can frame it in your answer, so that you can imbibe that in your answer, wherein you will score higher marks both in the prelims and mains, and it will be useful for both 2020 as well as 2021 UPSC examination. And this is my session is in regards to the daily news analysis, which is of today's 8th August 2020, and I would reiterate and re-emphasize my tagline, that is emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases, wherein you will be, that is the civil servant aspirants who are all watching the video of AKS IAS Academy Daily News Analysis will definitely be benefited for both the prelims as well as mains examination, as I also reiterate that you will be very comfortable even in regards to the interview, that is in the personality test, which will be conducted by UPSC. So keywords and the key phrases are the key points for you to clear both prelims, mains and interview. And before I get into the topic, I would say very good morning to all who are in the live and also in the live chat. So I would say very good morning to Rahul, Srinath, K. Srinath, D. Suvarna, Santosh, Shravani, Praveen Kumar, Sohail Arafat, Murli Krishna, David Paul, Humor Creations, N. Niranjan, Galla Naresh, all, Ashwini Ravikumar, very good morning to you all. And then we will get into the daily news analysis, that is of today's. And before that, we'll go ahead with the quote of the day. So the quote of the day is, each morning we are born again. Each morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. What we do today is what matters most. So what is very important is you take every day as a new beginning and make sure that you are giving in your best on that particular day, that is today. Whatever you have done in the past, that is yesterday or day before, what we would do it in the future, that is tomorrow, yes, that is definitely you need to have a goal, but what is very important is what matters the most is what you are doing it today. So make sure that you utilize maximum today. So that is what will make you clear that you will get to the path of success. So what we do today is what matters most. And then before I get into the news analysis, Gopi Nayak, Purnachandra, B. Purnachandra, Rishikesh, Varun Nayak, Madhu, very good morning to you all. And now I'll get into the topic. So today's news, we have that there was a Bhumi Puja conducted at Ayodhya for the Ram temple. So we will not look at it from political point of view. We are not worried about the political point of view. That is why I haven't taken any news from the newspaper which talks about politically, because for the civil services aspirants or for UPSC examination or competitive exams, we are not really bothered about the political view of the issue. We will definitely look at only in regards to the competitive exam point of view. So what is the competitive exam point of view? That is in regards to the Babri Masjid or Ayodhya or the Bhumi Puja at Ayodhya. In regards to the Ram temple, we will just focus it for the competitive examination point of view only. And that we will look at only in regards to the dispute. That is the long running dispute which is been since 1885. So this is how we will focus, which will be useful for you in regards to cracking prelims, and also which will be very useful, informative, and then analytical point of view from mains examination. So we will look at the all the disputes, and then even the Supreme Court verdicts, or else in regards to the Allahabad court verdicts, in regards to the Babri Masjid or disputed land between the in regards to Babri Masjid, and then the one who were actually claiming that land in regards to the Ram Janmabhoomi, or else in regards to the Ram temple. So we will only focus in regards to the issues or disputes and the Supreme Court verdict and or the High Court verdict, that is in regards to the Allahabad court verdict. So we will not go anything beyond that which will be political. We are not worried about, and we will not get into the political matters at all. And then before I just follow it or just move forward, Sri Sailam, and then Azmat Khan has also joined. Nandi Tatapa, very good morning to you. And then we will look at the dispute. So the dispute has started way back in the year 1885. So in the 1885, when it has started, it was in regards to the Mahant Raghubir Das. So Raghubir Das, the person called as Raghubir Das, has filed a plea in the Faizabad district court. This is very important. So the beginning of the dispute, as per the records, is from the 1885, wherein Raghubir Das has filed a petition in the Faizabad district court. Why he has filed a plea in the Faizabad district court? Because he has, or he was seeking permission to build a canopy in the sense a kind of tent like structure, canopy outside the disputed structure, and the court had rejected it. So please look at, we are looking at the verdicts of the Supreme Court, High Court, or else in regards to the Faizabad district court, or else in regards to the Allahabad High Court. So we will be focusing only in regards to the verdicts, in regards to the disputes. So first 1885, and it was rejected, and again in the year 1949, the idols of the Ram Lala was placed under the central dome outside the disputed structure. So outside the disputed structure, that is the Babri Masjid, they were the idols, the figures, or the idols of the Ram Lala were placed. And again in 1950, Gopal Simla Visharad files a suit. So here again Gopal Simla has filed a suit in the district court for right to worship. So again in the year 1950, there was a point then that they wanted to go ahead with having a right to worship. Please do understand. So look at first a canopy, fine, and then they wanted to install the idols, and then the right to worship. See, look at the canopy, that is first installation canopy, and then putting idols, and then worshipping. So in 1950 they wanted to worship the idols, and that was the case, or that was the suit which was filed by Gopal Simla. And then Parahamsa Ramchandra Das files a suit for continuation of worship and keeping the idols. So definitely here the importance is that the idols were placed, the idols were, definitely they were wanting to place the idols and then worship. So 1950 that. Again 1959, Nirmohi Akhari. So there is an organization which has filed a suit seeking possession of the site. So canopy, first canopy, and then idol plus worship, and now they, in the year 1959, Nirmohi Akhari, that is the organization or unit, a group, has filed a suit seeking what? The possession itself, possession of the entire area. So first canopy, and then idol, placing the idols, and then again worshipping the idols, and then right to worship, and then later on 1959 Nirmohi Hakara has filed a petition or the suit that they wanted to seek the position of the site, and then 1965 Uttar Pradesh Sunni Central Waqf Board. So here again it comes into action, wherein the Uttar Pradesh in the 1961 Uttar Pradesh has come up with the, or Uttar Pradesh Sunni Central Waqf Board had filed a suit for position. So it is, what is important is Nirmohi Akhara has filed a suit for position, and then later on again, this was in the year 1959, again Uttar Pradesh Sunni Waqf Board has filed a suit for the position in 1961. Look at it, first canopy, first installation of canopy, and then idols, and then right to worship, and then position of the site, that is Nirmohi Akhari in the year 1959. Again Uttar Pradesh Sunni Waqf Board or Sunni Central Waqf Board has filed a suit for the position of the site. So definitely we are looking into the entire episode, the timeline right from 1885, and then again in February 1, 1986, we have seen the court orders the government to open the site for Hindu devotees. So again in the 1986, we have seen the court has given a verdict that the site be open for the Hindu devotees for the worship. Please do understand here. The court in the year 1986 has ordered the government to open, that is UP government, to open the site for Hindus to worship it. And then August 14, 1989, it is the Allahabad High Court. Allahabad High Court in 1989, it has made it and status quo, order status quo. What do you mean by status quo? That is a kind of, what you say, that whatever situation is there, that has to be forever. The present situation should continue. So whatever is being given, ordered in 1986, that is what the Allahabad High Court in 1989 has said, that about the disputed structure, it has ordered the status quo. Please do understand, this is very, very important for the from in regards to the court verdicts. So status quo is that the Allahabad High Court is ordering that whatever the present situation is there in regards to disputed structure has to be maintained. So what was that? The court has ordered the government to open the site for Hindu devotees for worship. That was the in 1986. So 1989 Allahabad High Court has gone ahead with the status quo. This is a key word, very, very important keyword in the entire understanding. And then again in the 1993, if you look at, there was an Ayodhya Act which was passed for acquiring land. Look at it, 1993, an Ayodhya Act. Ayodhya Act has been come up, wherein they can go ahead with act was passed for acquiring land by the center, not for the Nirmohi Akhara, but the land, acquiring land by the center in the disputed area. So what has happened, that in the year 1993 central government or the center has come into the existence, that they can acquire the land by the Ayodhya Act. Please do understand. So Ayodhya Act has been passed in the year 1993. Again, this is very important, in the year 1993. And 1994, again what has happened is the Supreme Court has exercised its jurisdiction under Article 131A. This is again very important. This is how you need to focus for UPSC point of view. And again, the Supreme Court in the year 1993 has come up, or it has exercised its jurisdiction, its powers under Article 139A. Again, this is very important, which transfers various writ petition pending in the Allahabad High Court. So through the Article 139, the Supreme Court has transferred all the existing or pending petitions in the Allahabad High Court. In the Allahabad High Court. So in the 1993, one is you have this Ayodhya Act which has been passed, and the center can take up the position of the disputed land, and the Supreme Court has gone ahead with the judgment by making sure that it has passed a judgment under Article 139A. This is very important. What it has done? It has transferred various writ petition which are pending in the Allahabad High Court. And then again in 1994, the Supreme Court says the historical Ismail Farooqi case that a mosque is not an integral part of Islam. So 1994, again if you look at, the Supreme Court has given a verdict saying that mosque is not an integral part of Islam. That means the place of worship, that is not compulsory that they have to go ahead with the mosque. That is what the Supreme Court has said, not me, in the historical Ismail Farooqi case. Ismail Farooqi case. This is very important again for the prelims point of view. So in 1994, the Ismaili Farooqi case, wherein the Supreme Court has given a verdict saying that mosque is not an integral part of the, or integral part to Islam. And in 2002, the Allahabad High Court begins hearing that about the disputed case. And 2010, we have seen the High Court in a 2:1 majority rules three-way division. So what is the the recent judgment for that? What is the root cause? Is this September 2010, the High Court judgment, wherein they have come up with the three-way division. This is very important. So the High Court has come up with the three-way division of the disputed area between Sunni Waqf Board, the Nirmohi Hakara and Ram Lalla. This is the base. This judgment, three-way division judgment, is the base for today's what we have, that is February 5th, or else November 9, 2019. We have seen the kind of judgment the court has given granting lands for all the three. We have seen, see, look at here, November 9th, 2019, the court has granted 2.77 acres land to Ram Lalla. Of the land will remain with, and the will remain with the other will remain with the union government, and it also directs the UP to allot a land that is of 5 acres to the mosque. So whatever the November 9, 2019 judgment in regards to allotting the land to the Sunni Waqf Board and to the Ram Lalla is based on the September 30, 2010, the High Court judgment, which is called as three-way division, which is called as, this is very important, three-way division of the disputed area between the Sunni Waqf Board and Nirmohi Akhari and Ram Lalla. This is the base for what actually the conclusion of the entire dispute has been cleared on the November 9, 2019 is September 30, 2010 High Court judgment of the three-way division. And in the year 2011, the Supreme Court stays the verdict. Stays in the sense that it has to, that means there is a temporary halt. The Supreme Court says it is not going further. And again in 2011 itself, on August 7th, the court constitutes a 3-judge bench to hear pleas challenging the 1994 verdict of the Allahabad High Court. So the Supreme Court in 2011 has constituted a 3-judge bench to what? To hear the challenge of the 1994 verdict. So what is 1994 verdict? This is 1994 verdict. What is the 1994 verdict? That is, the Supreme Court has said in the historic Ismail Farooqi case that mosque is not an integral part of Islam. So this judgment of the 1994 is been again challenged by the, that the Ismaili Farooqi case, and that has been again put forth to the 5 judgments. So you have different 1 judge, 2 judge, 3 judge, 5 judge bench, 7 judge, 9 judge, 11 judge, Fine. So depending upon the severity of the case, the number of the judges will increase from 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. So the later on it was increased to 5 judge bench. And then January 18, 2019, the 5 judge bench constitution headed by Justice Ranjan Gogoi. He is the former Chief Justice, and now he is the member of the Rajya Sabha and also the member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs. This I have told you in last week or so. A week ago or so, I've said this. This is the latest information. He has been nominated as a Rajya Sabha member, and also he is the member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on External Affairs. And when he was the Chief Justice, they have heard the case, and there it has gone ahead with seeing that on November 9, that 2.77 acres of land will be provided to Ramlala, and the position of land remaining to the government of India or the union government, and 5 acres will be or should be provided to build a mosque to the Sunni Waqf Board. That is the UP government has to go ahead. And then February 5th, 2020, the Prime Minister, that is the Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, has appointed 15-member trust for Ram Temple. That is on February 5th. And then we have seen on August 5th, 2020, the Bhumi Puja which has taken place at Ayodhya for the construction of the Ram Temple. But last one is not really important for us for the prelims point of view or from the competitive exam. But right from 1885 till February or November 9th, 1885 to November 9, 2019. This chronology is very important for you all for the prelims point of view. So, as I have said that I did not take any figure of the entire political related issue. It is only what we need to look at is only a long running dispute, which again we have seen on December 6th, Babri Masjid demolition, and then the Babri Masjid dispute stretched over centuries with the cases through various courts. That is what we need to focus. And then before getting into the topic, I would say very good morning to Mahesh, Subbarao, Vijaya, Nitin Reddy, Ramesh Gulla, Ram Kumar. Very good morning to you all, and welcome to AKSIS Academy Daily News Analysis by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan. Now we'll get into the other news, that is Murmu resigns as Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir. So why we need to understand this is because he is or else GC Murmu is or was the first Lieutenant Governor, first LG of the Union Territory, that is Jammu and Kashmir, after abrogation of Article 370. After abrogation of Article 370, you had Jammu and Kashmir and then Ladakh as the Union Territory and Jammu and Kashmir as a Union Territory with the Assembly. Fine. And then GC Murmu was the first Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, but he has resigned and he is likely to be appointed as the Comptroller and Auditor General. And who is now the present Comptroller and Auditor General is Raju Maharshi. And why he has been moved from the Lieutenant Governor of the first Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory is because there were few controversies against him. That is, he really has disagreed with the center in regards to few issues or couple of issues. So it was in regards to the disagreement. He had disagreement with the center. So definitely whenever there is a disagreement with the center, with the individual who is in the official position, has to be, definitely the government will not like it. And then has he had the controversies over the apparent disagreements with the center. What are that disagreement? we will look at. And for the prelims point of view, who is the first Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir after abrogation of Article 370 is G.C. Murmu. Okay. Madhu says Manoj Sinha to be new governor. Okay, we'll see. And Madhu says former principal secretary to Gujarat government under Modi. Yes, he actually, I shouldn't say this, but as Madhu has said, G.C. Murmu was actually in Gujarat and he is very close. I mean, he has very closely worked with Gujarat government, that is with Narendra Modi and also Amit Shah. And his comments, he has commented that suggesting 4G internet should be restored. This, he has made a statement that the 4G internet has to be restored. So the government of India has put a ban temporarily or partially onto the 4G internet in the valley because of the security reasons. But the Lieutenant Governor Murmu has commented on the 4G internet should be restored, and that was not liked. And not only that, he has also made a comment in regards to the elections, that is elections, and there he said that the elections in the Union Territory should follow. He has said that the election in the Union Territory should follow the delimitation exercise, and that is what has raised the concern, and that is what the Election Commission has said, that is talking or making a statement in regards to the elections is not in the domain of the Lieutenant Governor, and it is only in the domain of the Election Commission. And that is also an statement which was made, which was controversy in regards to the Murmu. So first is 4G has to be restored. He has made a statement in the valley, that is in Jammu and Kashmir, and then he said that the polls or the elections should go ahead with following the delimitation exercise. What do you mean by delimitation? That means if there are changes, delimitation means changes in the constituencies, so that has to be followed, the delimitation exercise, as this was the Election Commission mandate. So definitely he has interfered into the security, valley security, and also in regards to the elections. So that was the controversies which has been part of Murmu, and that is why now he has been out of it. And what is very important is the first Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And the other news what we will definitely follow is the EWC quota challenge referred to Constitution Bench. Yesterday I said, when I was talking about the All India ranker, the All India first ranker, that is in regards to UPSC results, I said everything in that. I said this is the one which we need to focus, that is the EWS quota of 10% has been taken up or implemented in the UPSC in regards to the picking up the students or finalizing the officers, bureaucrats in regards to the UPSC. So that is again the news today, because for the first time economically weaker sections quota has been implemented by the by in the jobs, in the government jobs, and now that is what is challenged. EWS quota challenge referred to constitution bench. So the Supreme Court, first the Supreme Court has refused to stay. So there was a petition filed in the Supreme Court to stay, to put a stay in the sense like it has to be whatever the present situation is, that further it should not take place. So the petitioners have filed or challenged the validity of the constitutional amendment, or else the quota towards the economically weaker sections. So petitions have challenged the quota of the economically weaker sections, which is again in regards to the constitutional amendment. Which constitutional amendment it is? It is 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act. This is very important for the prelims point of view. So yesterday I was saying this the economically weaker section which has been implemented 10%, that is 78 of the bureaucrats were selected. So there again what is important is that economically weaker section quota of 10% has been implemented by the constitutional 103rd amendment act, and that is been challenged by the petitioner in the Supreme Court, and then this three judge bench has refused to stay. The petitioner wanted to stay the quota, economically weaker section quota of constitutional 103rd amendment act, but the Supreme Court had refused to stay. Why? Because the Supreme Court has refused to stay and it has referred the case to the 5-judge bench. Please do understand. Please do understand here. The 3-judge bench has refused, and then they have referred the case to the 5-judge bench. Please do understand. The Supreme Court has refused to put a stay, which has been filed a petition to stay on the Constitution 103rd Amendment Act, which provides 10% quota to the economically weaker section, and it has referred the case to the 5-judge bench, saying what? Substantial question of law, whether 10% reservation to economically weaker section is unconstitutional and violates the 50%. So what the Supreme Court says is, by referring it to the 5-judge bench, it is now looking at whether it is, that is it in the sense, by providing the 10% quota to the economically weaker section, whether it is unconstitutional or it violates. Please do understand, these are very important for prelims and mains examination. So the Supreme Court is now looking into the substantial question of the law. What is that substantial question of the law? There are two. That is, it will look into the question whether by providing 10% reservation to the economically weaker section is unconstitutional or it violates the 50% ceiling cap of the quota by the constitution itself. So this is very important. Please do understand. This is very important for prelims point of view. And the economic reservation has been brought in by the constitutional 103rd Amendment Act by including or amending the article, by amending Article 15 and by amending Article 16, and these are very important again for prelims point of view. So economically weaker reservation has been brought into action by implementation of the Constitution 103rd Amendment Act by amending Article 15 and Article 16 of the existing one. And what has been included? The subclause 6 in the Article 15, the subclause 6 was included, and then in the Article 16, subclause 6 was included. What it does by amending, it empowers the state governments to provide reservation based on the economic backward. So what does this Article 15 of subclause 6, Article 16 of subclause 6, which has been amended by incorporating the Constitutional Amendment 103rd Amendment Act, is it empowers the state to provide reservation on the basis of economic backwardness. This is very important, on the economic backwardness or economic criteria. So this is very important for prelims point of view. And what the petitioner is saying, that if the quota, that the quota 50% quota limit, it should not exceed, because it is the basic structure of the constitution. What is the basic structure of constitution here? That 50% of the quota limit, that is capping of 50% of the reservation quota. If it exceeds, then it is against the basic structure of the constitution, which is mentioned in the Keshav Nanda Bharati case, 1973, Keshav Nanda Bharati case. So this is very, very important point for the prelims point of view in regards to the polity. Please do understand the way I am focusing Article 15(6), Article 16 of subclause 6, and then basic structure of the Constitution, and then Constitution 103rd Amendment Act, and then substantial question whether the 10% reservation is unconstitutional or it violates the 50% of the ceiling cap on quota. And the other news is, and before I get into it, Satish has also joined. Good morning to you, Satish. Welcome to Satish Kumar. Welcome to AKS IS Academy Daily News Analysis by Sandeep Bhushan. And there is another news which talks about Amnesty urges NHRC and NCW to open Jammu and Kashmir offices. So this again, when we are looking at, we have to look at the keywords in regards to the Amnesty International India, and then in regards to the National Human Rights Commission, and also in regards to the National Commission for Women. So these three are the keywords wherein you need to focus for the prelims as well as mains point of view. So what are those? Amnesty International India, National Human Rights Commission, National Commission for Women. So why I am saying is these are the keywords, because as I reiterate, my tagline is you need to focus, you need to emphasize on the keywords from the newspaper. That is where you will score more marks and you will have an edge over others, and you will have edge over others in the prelims, mains, and also in the interview. And what the Amnesty International India has said, that it is urging, it is asking that to NHRC, that is National Human Rights Commission, and the National Commission for Women to set up offices in Jammu and Kashmir, because there had not been any redressal of their rights violation. So definitely what the Amnesty International India is talking about, the human rights violation, is focusing on the human rights violation where in Jammu and Kashmir. And it says that you do not have the National Human Rights Commission office, you do not have the National Commission for Women office in Jammu and Kashmir, wherein these are the one wherein it will focus or listen to the human rights violation. So there has to be the state National Human Rights Commission, or Jammu and Kashmir National Human Rights Commission, and Jammu and Kashmir National Commission, Jammu and Kashmir Commission for Women has to be in Jammu and Kashmir. It has to be installed or set up the offices. It is asking, urging. It is urging the NHRC, NCW to set up offices, because those were the offices which are not, or it has been closed since year. Why year? Because August 5th, 2019, that is abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. From then onwards, you have the offices closed. And the organization, that is Amnesty International Organization, is also asking the release. It wanted the release of the political leaders, journalists, and activists who have been detained in the midst of the abrogation of Article 370, and then keeping in view the national security, so that no untoward incident takes place in the valley. For that, they have gone ahead with a preventive detention under the Public Safety Act. Preventive detention under the Public Safety Act. The political leaders, journalists, and activists have been detained, and the organization Amnesty is also asking to release the political leaders, journalists, and activists, and then to restore the 4G mobile internet. So they wanted the internet services to be restored, and then the decongestion of the prisoners should also, that means release of the prisoners, and then independent investigation has to take place. Independent investigation has to take place in regards to the release of the prisoners or political leaders, journalists, and activists. And Amnesty has noted that 7 state level commissions have been wrapped up since August 5th, 2019, from the time of abrogation Article 370 and 35A. And what Amnesty states is that now, because the rights of freedom of expressions and the freedom of expression and thought, or the opinion, freedom of freedom of expression and opinion. What Amnesty International acknowledges that the right to freedom of expression and opinion are curbed in the sense, or stopped stopped. And what it says is, definitely if there is any security concern, yes, the security concerns, the right to expression of the opinion has to be curbed, but that has to be only for a limited period of time. That has to be only for a limited period of time, but it should not extend for a long period of time. But what the Home Ministry says is, because of the security reasons, we are going ahead with that. And then what the amnesty says is that we should go ahead with international covenant on civil political rights. So international covenant in the sense, the rules and regulations on civil political rights, which India is a state party. That means, as per the international covenant on civil and political rights, India is a party. That means India has signed the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So what is very important is, which rights are we talking about? Civil rights and political rights. Please do understand. We are talking about civil rights and political rights. We, in the sense, the Amnesty International India is focusing on the civil rights and the political rights, which is as per the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, wherein India is a state party. That means India has signed the International Covenant, and India being a signatory to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Amnesty International India says that the freedom of expression and opinion should not be curtailed, should not be curbed for such a long time period or time frame. And if you talk about the Amnesty International, it has been set up in the year 1961. It has been set up, Amnesty International. It has been set up in the year 1961 by Peter Benison. He was a British lawyer. And what is main? To stop the abuse of human rights. Their focus or the vision objective is to stop the abuse of human rights. And that is what it is focusing in regards to the Jammu and Kashmir, in regards to the amnesty. And now we will look at little bit in regards to the additional information I am providing here, because Amnesty International has urged the NHRC and then NCW. So we will look at what is NHRC. We will look at it. So NHRC has been established in the year 1993. This is again very important for prelims point of view. Amnesty International, National Human Rights Commission, National Commission for Women. So it has been established in the year 1993, and it has been established by the act called as Protection of Human Rights Act. Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. This is very important. Protection of Human Rights Act. It has been established, the statute under which it is established is, that is the NHRC. NHRC is been established in the year 1993 under Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Please do understand, NHRC has been established under the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993, and it is been amended in the year 2006. The Protection of Human Rights Act 1993 has been amended in the year 2006 of Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act. So it is now called as Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act 2006. Initially it is called as Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Under this, the National Human Rights Commission has been established, and later on in the year 2006 it has been amended as Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act 2006. And what does it do? It promotes and protects the human rights. What is the main embodiment or the objective of NHRC? Is to protect and promote the human rights. And as per section 2 of 1 of D of the Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act, it wanted to make sure that, or relating to life, liberty. So it is pertaining to life, liberty, equality and dignity. So the section 2 of 1 of D of protection of human rights defines human rights as the rights relating to. So it is defining what is human rights. So which defines the human rights? That is section 2 of 1 of D. This is again very important for prelims. Which among the following sections defines the Protection of Human Rights Amendment Act defines human rights as the rights relating to life, liberty, equality and dignity is the section 2 of 1 of D, and which is guaranteed by constitution, which is the also by international covenants, and which is also by the which is enforceable by courts. So by constitution, by international covenant and enforceable by courts. So by three ways the definition of human rights are there, and then protecting the life, liberty, equality and dignity is very important. And this is based on the Paris Principle. First time it has been confirmed by the Paris Principle, and then later on it has been endorsed. So Paris Principle in the year 1991, Paris Deal or Paris Principle, Paris Peace. And then again by the United Nations General Assembly, it has been endorsed in the year 1993. So that is in regards to the human rights. That is in regards to the human rights. So this is what is important in regards to the prelims point of view for the National Human Rights Commission. In regards to the National Human Rights Commission. And we will also look at or focus on National Commission for Women, which is again additional information which I am giving for the prelims point of view. And it has been set up as a statutory body in the year 1992. It has been set up in the year 1992. National Commission for Women has been set up in the year 1992 under the National Commission for Women Act 1990. These are all very important. Please do understand under what, under which act they have been set up. These are all very important for prelims. Very important keyword. This is how we need to keep on focusing. And what is the main motto of it? That it will review the constitutional and legal safeguards for women. It will recommend the legislative measures. It will facilitate the redressal of grievances. That means any concerns it will facilitate so that the issues can be addressed, and it will advise the government on policy matters affecting women. So it will review, it will recommend, it will facilitate and it will advise the government. So that is what the objective of the National Commission for Women, which has been set up in the year 1992 under the National Commission of Women's Act 1990, and it is a statutory body, I said. So what do you mean by statutory body? Statutory body means it is not demarcated in the Constitution of India. Please do understand, it is not demarcated, it is not mentioned in the Constitution of India original, but it gets powers or service rules or authority from the Act of Parliament or from the state legislature. That means it is not mentioned in Indian Constitution, but it is not mentioned in Indian Constitution, but it will get the power, service rules and authority by an Act of Parliament. This is very important for preliminary and better conceptual understanding about what is statutory body if it is given in the prelims. Which among the followings are incorrect in regards to the statutory body for polity point of view. So statutory body is not demarcated nor not mentioned in the Constitution of India, but it is by an Act of Parliament or state legislature, because NCW is a statutory body. And before I get into the topic, Satish Kumar has joined. Very good morning to you. Raja Prasad, Y Sandeep, and then Krupa Jyoti has also joined. Very good morning to you all, and welcome to AKS IAS Academy. And then in regards to the daily news analysis by me, that is Sandeep Bhushan Tummala. And there is another news which talks about Lebanon explosion toll climbs to 135. So this is a very disturbing news. This is a very disturbing news that we have seen it yesterday in the television and also in the WhatsApp group also it was viral. that there was a massive warehouse explosion in Beirut. Beirut is Lebanon. In Lebanon, that is, Beirut is the capital city of Lebanon, capital of Lebanon, and it has killed at least 135 people. And we have seen that the kind of explosion it has taken place, it has felt, the blast has rattled in the sense shaken, has shaken the buildings even in the Mediterranean island country, that is Cyprus, or Cyprus you call it. That is, as far as 160 kilometers away from Beirut, the shocks, or else the buildings were affected 160 kilometers away from the blast, or else the explosion where it has taken place, and nearly 5,000 people were injured. This is very disturbing news, very disturbing news. And why I have taken this is for, in regards to the international relations, in regards to geography map based, I have taken this news. And the president Michael Aoun of Lebanon has said 2,750 tons, and this is also again in regards to the ecology and environment, that is in regards to the disaster management. It is also in regards to the disaster management, ecology and environment. So 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate. This again is very important for prelims point of view. Ammonium nitrate, which is used in fertilizers and bombs, had been stored for almost 6 years in the port without any safety measures. And that is what we have seen, the kind of explosion which has taken place in the port city, in the Beirut, that is wherein they have stocked 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate. And it was stocked for 6 years in the port city without any safety measures. If you look at, I'm just saying, if you look at the LG polymers, the same kind of, what you say, gas leak, that is disaster. It is disaster. Fine. So which gas is that? This is a question again which I'm posing it to all the viewers. Which is the gas which has been leaked in the LG polymers in Visakhapatnam? I know that you all know, but for a revision. And in regards to the Bhopal gas tragedy, which is the gas which has been leaked. So in regards to Bhopal gas tragedy and LG polymers, which is a gas which has been leaked. And here it is not a gas, but the ammonium nitrate, which will be used in the, yes, very good, David Paul's styrene. And in regards to the Bhopal gas tragedy, which was the gas leakage in 1984. So all these are very important for prelims point of view. Very good, Suraj. And please do also comment in regards to which gas is in regards to the Bhopal gas tragedy which has taken place in 1984. United Carbide, methyl isocyanate, exactly, very good, MIC, very good. Why I'm saying is these are all very important for prelims point of view. And then the Gulf countries, Iran, Germany, Netherlands and Cyprus has come to rescue Lebanon in regards to the disaster which has taken place, and it has provided the medical equipment. Saudi Arabia has provided the medical equipment, or Saudi Arabs. And then in regards to the Iran, they have provided the food, offered food. And in regards to Germany and the Netherlands and Cyprus, they have offered search and rescue teams, because this is very important. So look at this site here. It is a port city. Look at the site. Everything is grounded. And we could see it in the WhatsApp group also, which was very disturbing. And this explosion which has taken place is the most powerful ever ripped through Beirut, because this Lebanon country is, or was actually, into the civil war. and because of civil war, its economy has been shattered and it is gripped under the economic slowdown or meltdown, and now again because of the coronavirus. So the civil war and then economic meltdown or economic gripped economic meltdown, and with the coronavirus infections. So all these three, and now because of the blast. So it is a devastating one to the Lebanon or Beirut. So for a better understanding, I have taken this image. So this is the site of explosion, which is the port city in Beirut. In Beirut, this is port of Beirut. Beirut is the capital. Fine. So here, so you have the site of explosion and heavily damaged and destroyed warehouses. So almost 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate were stored since almost 6 years without any safety measures. So this is Beirut and this is Mediterranean Sea. This coast of Mediterranean Sea. Fine. So why I am saying is, again for geography map based, I will focus this. So look at this. This is Lebanon and this is Beirut. This is the port city. So this is Mediterranean Sea. Why I am saying this is because almost 160 kilometers away from Beirut is Cyprus. So even in Cyprus, they could see the buildings being affected or shaken. So that is the impact of the blast which has taken place in Beirut. And why I have taken this is because we need to understand from geography map based, because just couple of days Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has given a warning to the terrorist organization. Which terrorist organization? Hezbollah. So Hezbollah is a terrorist organization which are in Lebanon and they are causing lot of worry to Israel. So the Hezbollah terrorist organizations are causing lot of problem to Israel. So that is what recently, just couple of days back, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has raised an alarm against or cautioned the Hezbollah terrorist organizations which are in Lebanon. And this, please to understand, Lebanon borders with Israel. So northeast or north and northeast of Israel borders with Lebanon. And you have this Syria also, which borders Lebanon with Syria, and then Israel with Syria. And what is important is you have the border between Israel and Syria, that is called as Golan Heights. And again, this is the disputed one. This is a disputed one between Israel and Syria, that is called as Golan Heights. Golan Heights, which Syria has occupied it. And then if you look at this part is called as West Bank, because this was again in news, wherein building a wall across the West Bank by Israel is not at all accepted, which the United Nations has made it very clear. So you have the Israel, you have Palestine. So we will focus where is Palestine here. So Palestine is Gaza Strip plus West Bank. So Gaza Strip, this one, Gaza Strip and West Bank. So this area and this area is Palestine, and the rest, that is yellow part, this yellow one is Israel. So there is a conflict between Israel and Palestine. So definitely there is a conflict between Israel and Lebanon. There is a conflict between Israel and also Jordan. Jordan, even Iran. Iran, if you look at Iran supports the Lebanon, that is Hezbollah. Iran supports Lebanon, that is Hezbollah terrorist organization, to wage war or to fight against the Israelis, that is the Jews. That is Jews. Fine. So when we are talking about Palestinians, they are the one, this Gaza Strip and West Bank, and you have Turkey here. So these are very important. So Israel also borders with Egypt. Israel also borders with Egypt. So Israel borders with Egypt, Jordan, it borders with Palestine, it borders with Lebanon, it borders with Syria. Syria. So these are all very very important for geography map based. That is why I have taken this news. So the question for the day for the mains examination is, in the wake of the recent national lockdown. So this question is in regards to the migrant workers. So in the wake of the recent national lockdown during COVID-19 pandemic, to a migrant worker, when a migrant worker, when faced with an imminent threat to life, please do understand, for a migrant worker, for a migrant worker during the national lockdown, when he has faced with an imminent threat to life, so whenever there is a threat to life, the tug of home and the family. So to the migrant worker, when he has faced an imminent threat to life, what is important for him is the home and family is much stronger than the industrial glue. That means industrial attachment that comes with an urban occupation. Please do understand. I hope many of them did not understand. I will repeat it. In the wake of the recent national lockdown, that is during COVID-19 pandemic situation, to a migrant worker, when he has faced that a threat to his life because of the entire economic activity has come to a standstill. At that situation, what he has really looked at is he has focused on going back to his home and then being with the family rather than with the industrial area or the jobs or the urban occupation. No doubt there was totally standstill in regards to the economic activity, but they never waited till the revival of the business or kickstart of the economic activity. They wanted to go back to their villages, and that is what it is when faced with the imminent threat of life. So when it is a threat of life for them, they have looked at, they have focused on their homes and family rather than the industrial or the urban occupation. Comment. And this is because you have it today in today's article in the Hindu newspaper. This is part of the today's Hindu article. That is why I focused this. Comment on this. That means why it is for the migrant workers, home and family is important rather than the urban occupation or the jobs or the industrial attachment or attraction. So we have looked at for polity point of view for prelims, and again this in regards to the current affairs, the lieutenant governor, first lieutenant governor, and then again in regards to the polity which has been challenged in regards to 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act in regards to 10% in regards to the economically weaker sections. And then again in regards to this, the Amnesty International, it is in regards to the human rights. And Lebanon, yes, we are focused in regards to the IR point of view and also in regards to geography map based and all the issues which are pertaining with Israel with other countries. Israel with other countries or bordering nations of Israel. So I would thank you and then a good luck for you all. And then do like the video, share the video, and subscribe the video of the AKS IAS Academy. And you can also subscribe to the Telegram link of AKS and also the website of AKS IAS Academy. So do follow the Telegram link, and then also be follow the website or have the access of the website of AKS IAS Academy. And then my next class will be, or see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. And then I would again reiterate that consistency, stick to your schedule, and then take care of your physical health and mental health. Then see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. And I would say a very big thank you, and then good luck for you all. And thank you all.